Welcome on to an in-season tournament quarterfinal upset great NBA action extravaganza podcast edition of Dunked On Prime. I just talked for like 4 hours already, so I'm a little bit loopy. Which game are you going to start with?
I want to start with Pacers Celtics, the opening game where even without Kristaps Porzingis, the Pacers, not that we care too much about the betting lines, they were the home underdogs in this one. And, I had said in our preview of it that I didn't expect this game to be close late. I was wrong. Was totally wrong. And the place that I really want to start, though, is in his first ever TNT NBA game, we got elements of the whole Tyrese Haliburton experience. We got some of that incredible offense. Some of the three-pointers he made were incredible. In the first half, the Celtics attacked him quite a bit defensively. This was behaved differently than a regular season game, in particular because of those kinds of things. But the Pacers offense was awesome when he was on the floor, and they pulled out the win.
Yeah, it was really a first half in which he struggled significantly, and you wondered what was going on in terms of the illness that had him missing that game against Miami, which they actually won on Saturday. And he also had a knee bruise that was a struggle for him. And yeah, he just was not attacking in the same way, wasn't really able to get after switches. He was getting beat up. I think they scored 11 points in the first half, basically going right at him in isolation, and were able to set up a few other things as well. Celtics offense was looking pretty good. They're turning it over, which is the biggest thing keeping the Pacers in it. And yeah, Haliburton just was not himself at all. And you could tell the way he started the third quarter that it was going to be different. He fought in the post, forced a turnover when they tried to enter the ball in against him defensively. And then he was pushing the ball up. He was driving. He was incredibly aggressive. And they got the transition game going. The first 19 points of the third quarter were via Haliburton buckets or assists. And we just get his full second half stat line because it was really quite the tour de force.
We can, but I want to start with the first half. So Haliburton's first half, 7 points on 3 of 8 from the field, only 2 assists, though he did have 6 rebounds. And then you compare that to the second half, where Haliburton, 19 points, 12 of which came in the third, on 7 of 10 from the field, 11 assists just in the second half, 4 rebounds, 4 of 7 from 3.
And he hit 2 absolute back-breaking threes in the fourth quarter as well, where he just wasn't even on balance at all. I mean, he generally doesn't have the most consistent shot form, certainly not the most classic shot form. And it's kind of funny because he has one of the weirdest shots of a great shooter that you'll ever see, as did a guy who preceded him in Indiana as one of the greatest shooters of all time, Reggie Miller. But even these were ones where his feet were, I don't know, well,
and
well wider than his shoulders.
And not only that, it looked like on that one that he hit over Jaylen Brown, that Haliburton's foot was sliding when he took off, which I'm not the greatest shooter, but I could tell you that I wouldn't have made a shot like that, any semblance of it. And Haliburton, that drive game, the shots, was also setting up his teammates, and you could see the Pacers offense looking so much better in that second half.
Yeah, and it really was all through him in the end. And after that first half, I mean, I'm guessing, without looking at it, that in games Haliburton was available, 48 points. They trailed 55-48 at halftime, was the lowest half they've had all season. And you're like, man, maybe like the Celtics really got him. Like maybe he's just, I mean, part of it was that he wasn't feeling well, but maybe it's just that like they have too many guys who can defend in isolation, and he's not really able to beat that. Like some of the old criticisms, you were kind of wondering, like, all right, if they're a team like Boston is really locked in, like maybe they can shut this guy down. No, actually you cannot, apparently.
At least not for a full 48.
Yes. Yeah, and he credited getting an inhaler at halftime, which part of why he then was feeling better. I think maybe he had some sort of a respiratory issue.
Well, that's the illness he had was an upper respiratory.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he clearly, whether it was that whether it was just knowing that they're in trouble, whether it was being on TNT for the first time, like he clearly came out, and maybe he was like, all right, I don't want to be too jacked up at the beginning, like let the game kind of be all that. And he was like, no, I'm going to take over here. The Celtics has gone on a big run to go up 7 right at the end of the first half. And yeah, I mean, you could just tell his effort level, the aggression he was playing with, it was remarkable.
During the season so far, you and I had an extended conversation about Tyrese Haliburton's MVP candidacy on the awards pod that we recorded 24 hours ago. I mean, we recorded it for 2 hours and 45 minutes of those 24 hours, but whatever. And I brought up the point, I had Haliburton's second MVP, that they have I think it's like a 126 offensive rating when he is on the floor. They were playing the Boston Celtics tonight, a team that even, like they were missing Kristaps Porzingis, but they are very well suited to slowing down Tyrese Haliburton. The Pacers had a 127.1 offensive rating when Tyrese Haliburton was on the floor.
Yeah, and they put up back-to-back 37-point quarters in the second half.